Hello, everyone. We're back for another one of our conversations here in December, and I hope these are proving to be encouraging and helpful to you. Today, we have another guest with us, someone who's not a stranger to me, at least, but maybe for many of you, uh, but not a stranger for me because Naomi is a member of the church that Christina and I were previously at in Ames, Iowa. Um, and we're having a conversation today about art. We'll have a few of these conversations, maybe depending on where these videos have sort of order they've come out. Maybe you've already had one or two in this stream, but yeah, looking forward to another conversation. And so, with that, I think I'll just turn it over um, to her to introduce herself a little bit and share a bit about her background.
Hello, my name is Naomi Friend, and yes, I go to Trinity Christian Reformed Church here in Ames, Iowa, in the lovely United States. I am working as a mom, florist, and artist at this time. And I would say that my time is sort of split in that order as well. So we have three kids, a 5-month old, a 2-year-old, and an 8-year-old. So um, we I spend my days at home working, and I do use a little bit of daycare sometimes. So um and then my son is in school. So right now I'm sort of in a season of, I would say, growth in my work. But in I would say for my whole life, like my friends when I was little told me I was an artist, and I was like, sounds okay, I guess I'll do that. But for real, I've always enjoyed drawing and painting, and I did ceramics as a young person and through my college years. Um, I went to Dordt College here in Iowa and did fine arts there, and then I went on to get a master's degree at Iowa State University. Um, so I have an MFA in the visual arts. So in my art practice, I do painting and photography. So I use cyanotype, which is a antique photo process from like the 1850s. And then I do an exposure. Um, I use different images that I've taken of landscape and items that I see or buildings, and then I do paintings of animals or plants over top. And the whole narrative is about God's creation and sort of the sanctity of life and the preciousness of life and the interconnectedness of life, and how we're created in a beautiful way to live in community with each other and with the and on this planet Earth that's so beautiful. Um, and sort of exploring how that relationship may be broken or difficult to achieve in its full glory that is intended for us. Um, So that's my visual art. I have done, your classic gallery exhibitions and sold work through that way. Recently, in the last couple years, I've been doing more mural work. So me and another friend, Anna Sagner, have been doing large scale murals, like 900 square feet or so, in nature centers around Iowa. So these are places where you can visit, and they have trails carved out through the woods, or many times they're on a little lake. And the nature center is a place that is aiming to educate people about what they're seeing outside. So, what are the plants called? What are the animals called? And so we have been doing paintings that cover the inside of the building. And we paint usually from a list of animals that the naturalists give us. Um, so that's some of the work we've been doing. And then I'm also raising babies, which is a whole creation unto itself.
Well, I was just going to say, I
Yeah.
feel as though all of the types of work that you're doing, there's just such an intertwining, right? In terms of the the content of the visual art,
Hmm.
and yeah, engaging with thinking about the idea of creation and life, and in particular thinking about family life. Yeah, so
Hmm.
anyhow, that I don't know why maybe that hasn't come to mind before for me, but yeah, that just popped into my mind.
It's more strong in my mind these days because I'm like, what am
Mhm.
I doing? I have all these things going on because I didn't even mention the flower farm, which is something we sort of started as a hobby, where we grow specialty cut flowers and sell them at the farmers market on the weekend. And then I've started doing more florist orders where you're arranging and delivering to people's houses too. So, but all of those things are growth, connecting, making connections, nurturing, and especially in florist work, I've found, which is very satisfying for me, kind of something I haven't explored so intimately yet, is working with people as they grieve or working with people as they celebrate. And those are really poignant moments in people's life. And I feel like I get to come in and deliver flowers for it's very meaningful. Whereas sometimes when you're working on a canvas, it's very removed from people. So this is sort of a different um, way of working that I love. So,
Yeah, no, appreciate that. And yeah, I think that's a good introduction to not only yourself but your work and your art that you're engaged in. Maybe to build on that a little bit, um, you already mentioned God and creation and life, but what is it that maybe a couple of themes or ideas of what is it that you feel art tells us about God or can tell us about God, and then also about the world?
yeah. Um, I was speaking with Pastor Laura Copley about being an artist in the church, who is a pastor here at Trinity. And she said something in conversation about artists are seeking the light. And I find that to be true. I find that when I'm making something, I'm always seeking to find how is God showing up in this? Like, what is the goodness here in this earth? And can I make it um, physical for us to meet physically in these physical bodies that we have? Um, because sometimes you might get a glimmer or a thought of something that's beautiful or valuable, or a glimmer or a thought of something that needs work and needs change. But to me, making art is taking that thought and that idea and cementing it in physical media. Like, I don't like making prints. Some of the ways artists make money is by selling prints. And to me, that doesn't have to, like, my hand didn't make those marks.
Mm.
There's something really important to me about physically making something. It's like in our sacraments in church, it's where word is made flesh. And there's something artistic about that as well. Um, so I find that I meet God when I'm really struggling to make something as well. So it's if everything is hunky dory and easy, that's not a period of spiritual growth. It's when you're really working for something and you have something that you want to see, but you don't even necessarily know what that looks like yet. And you're just going out and doing your best. Um, and I find that creative process it does connect between all of the art forms that I've explored as well. So, like, if I'm working on a canvas, there's usually a concept that I want to engage with, and I need to fully understand what it is that I'm painting or try to. We never fully understand, but I try to learn more so I have a fuller understanding about what it is that I'm painting. So, if I'm painting like a heron that stands in the water as it hunts, then I'm thinking about what would it feel like to be a heron, and what is that perspective? And um, and then I'm reading like what have other people said about herons. And through that process, when I did a painting of a heron, I thought they're like a watcher. They're like always watching. And then they move quickly and decisively. They stand very still and just watch. And then boom, they like don't mess around. There's no chasing. Um, and I just, that's like just a very small example of a little lesson that we can learn through art making. So I don't know. There's other ways that it comes to like the more sympathy work I do in my floral work, the more I feel like I'm sort of trying to create a space for that memory or grief or whoever this person was that passed. And sometimes I get the feeling that there's like their presence there and I can like what color do I choose, um and I used to think, oh well, it's just luck, and I don't think that anymore. There's been enough times where someone will say, how did you know to do that? And I say, well, I didn't know. I just thought that this was the right way to go. And then it turns out that that was probably the spirit talking in some way. So, um, there's cool things that happen, but it's all in the process. It doesn't ever just come.
Yeah. I know we did a seminar with Crux here. It would have been last year, I think, looking at Abraham Kuyper and science and art. And I remember a quote that I read to the group in that about artists, and it's always stuck with me. But without having it in front of me, just this sense in which he says artists they serve as a form of priests, right? And they help to, um, on the one hand, you could say they help to open the rest of our eyes, or they just have eyes to see things that the rest of us maybe struggle to. And it's not to say like, oh, it's not a hierarchy thing of some, superiority or anything like that, but that there is just a way of seeing. Um, and I think I heard a little bit of that in what you were sharing. And then also the way that the Holy Spirit, um, yeah, the Spirit works through us and our work. And I think that was really, that's an encouraging thing to hear. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and I really find there's a huge amount of faith that goes into that.
Mm.
If you are second guessing or getting up in your head about something or blocked by if you're worried about what other people are going to think, those insights don't happen so much. It's it feels scary. What I feel like I'm doing it right if it feels a little scary, Not like you don't want to be petrified with fear. You just want to be a little bit on the edge. Um, and I've had to learn to sort of give into that because I do tend to operate within my safety net. I don't like to risk much. Um, but it is a challenge to sort of give in to the unknown and follow where the spirit is leading. So,
And yeah, maybe that actually leads well into the last question that I wanted to ask, which was, um, yeah, just what significance is there with regards to art? Why are the arts important for the church? Or what do you hope could be, right, the role that the arts play in the life of the church?
mm, that's a very good question.
It can be really
Um,
big, right? And
yeah,
so, yeah, just maybe a couple of
there's
things that really stand out to you.
right. The first thing that comes to mind that I find important is we did a couple years ago at Trinity, we did a group Bible study where we were specifically talking about the tabernacle, and we were studying in Exodus the passage about the tabernacle and how it's all built out of specific materials. And through that, studied the a book, or I ended up reading a whole book about how the um, materials and pieces in the tabernacle, the way that it's built, sort of reflected back to Egyptian funerary practices and the way that they saw gods. And the lesson there was that, to me, God spoke through the artist's hands and said, "You guys don't understand me. You're physical, but you understand the way the Egyptians understand religion. So I'm going to take some key things out of their religion and some key symbols, and I'm going to change them so that you can understand how big and great I am in whatever way you're capable of doing at this time, as you have just been kicked, well, gotten to escape your land that you were comfortable, but also oppressed in. A change needed to happen. But this is like the world of religion that was around you at the time. So God is in the box in Egyptian language, in Egyptian culture at that time. And God was always present in the tabernacle. In the Ark of the Covenant, but more obviously as a pillar of smoke and fire above the tabernacle at all times, day and night. And that's a huge difference from how the Egyptians understood
Mm.
their gods. And so to me, um, the job of the arts in the church is to likewise push us to take us from a place that we feel comfortable and the place we can control and push us to a place where we're seeing God everywhere all the time. And that's maybe not going to be super pleasant for us. We might have to haul these gigantic hardwood gold wrapped pillars through a desert. If that's the kind of burden we're carrying with us in our lives, it might be really hard work for us to get to that place where we're seeing God. Um, but that's, I think, the work that the arts can do in the church. And it can be physical artwork and it can be the work of the people within the church. I'm a fan of physical artwork. So, um, in my own church, I've been sort of working on creating an idea for and then executing the creation of banners that represent biblical concepts. We made a few years ago one that is about the ordinary time in the church where you're growing and learning. And so this banner hangs during the summertime as people are sort of on their vacations. And but liturgically in the church, that's a time when we are learning about the stories of Jesus, learning about the stories in the Old and New Testaments and how people, developed or learned from God in those ways. And so there's not necessarily a specific thing like Advent or Lent that we're studying at that time. Um, And so this banner is green. It's like a patchwork quilt, and then there's a outline of a white leaf with seven leaves, seven being an important number in the Bible. So um, we made that, and since it's a group thing, it also helped us with fellowship. We're all putting it together. Everyone had their hands in the process. They donated the fabric for it, and then we had a few key people who were able to put it all together, who know more about quilting. I don't actually know that much about quilting. So that was sort of a leap for me.
Mm.
Um, so there's projects like that. There's and I think there's ways for that to be a much bigger project. Right now I'm kind of into these group projects. So,
Mm.
but I think within the church there's tons of room to do all different kinds of things. So, but visual arts have a power of being on the wall. Um, People can approach them at any time. Music is set during a certain moment, but visual arts can be approached at all times. So I think that's one very important place for a church, a place of worship, is to have these items that remind us to come back and focus on the word.
Mm. Yeah. As you were sharing that, it reminded me that the art itself has a role that it can play, but also as you were describing the process of creating a banner or something, right, visual, that there is that the process has a role, right? And the way in which that engages the community serves to bring people together. Um, that it reveals certain things about one another, perhaps. And through it, right, you grow, you learn, you form those tighter knit relationships. Um, yeah, so yeah, I think for me that stood out. Both the finished work has a role to play, but also the process has a role
Mhm.
to play in the life of the church.
Yes. And creatively, it was a little scary because I came up with this idea and a method, but I didn't know that we had all the people who would know
Mhm.
how to actually put it together. Because, like I said, I'm not a good quilter, I'm not a good sewer. I can get by. Um, so knowing that I felt like God provided the people to make it happen, and we had everyone in my basement putting stuff together, and I was like, okay, we've got this. But I didn't maybe know until that moment that we did in fact have it.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think, yeah, just I want to say thank you. Appreciate you taking a little bit of time out just to share a bit with me, but also for whoever, anyone who will be watching this. And I hope it's an encouragement to them as well. I know a lot of the people involved in our Crux community are involved in the arts, and yeah, we always have an annual artist gathering. And who knows, maybe we'll find a way to get you to come down sometime, and you can be a part of that. The whole
It
family can come down,
would be a great adventure.
of course. So, but no, thanks again, and yeah, we just appreciate it.
Thanks for making the time for this. I think it's an important conversation for everyone. So I'm glad that you're pushing us forward in this way.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks, and yeah, we'll be back in a few days with another video. Until then, I hope this one brings a lot of good conversation and reflection.